Okay, guys, this is case study '06, project delivery considerations and related areas. We're group 4. My name is Asena Tapavalu.
And my name is Christopher Ili.
Okay, so our agenda for today's presentation, we're going to start off with the Part A overview, and then the Part A question and answers, and then we'll move on to Part B overview, and the Part B question and answers, and then we'll close out with the conclusion. Okay, so Part A overview. An owner decides to do a project that is pretty complex and has to do with remodeling and expansion of an existing building. He signs contracts with individual design team members and individual material suppliers and specialty subcontractors. And these contracts are independent of the architect and general contractor that he already has hired. He does this in order to save money and avoid multiple markups throughout the project. And the owner contract states that the architect and general contractor must work with the independent designers and contractors as if they use the standard vertical method, when in fact he's using the horizontal method. So the first question is, what are the owner's risks by using this method? So the contracts with the independent subcontractors and material suppliers are under the owner instead of the general contractor. And it's the same thing, same situation with the independent designers who would usually in the standard method be hired by the architect, but are now under contract with the owner. So the owner is assuming the risks that would usually be placed on a general contractor and the architect. And depending on his knowledge and the people that he hires, for the subcontractors and designer and independent designers, his fees could either increase or decrease. So for the contractor and designer risks, they're really dependent on the owner and whether or not he, like I said, is knowledgeable about the scope of the project and the people that he hires. The risks that they might take is that maybe they might have an increased number of change orders, RFI submittals, and even experience possible delays because of miscommunication or other things like that. So here we have a diagram of the vertical or standard approach versus the horizontal approach that our owner is using in this situation. As you can see, for the vertical approach, the owner hires an architect and a general contractor, and the architect actually hires the designers and engineers, while the general contractor is responsible for hiring the subcontractors and material suppliers. In this horizontal approach, we see the owner hiring an architect and a general contractor separately from, owner hires an architect and a general contractor separate from the subcontractors and independent designers. And they're all supposed to still work together.
Okay, for Part B, the situation is the same as it connects to Part A. But the questions were: assume the following costs for the case described above, which was Part A. What would the cost increase have been to the owner if they had contracted in the normal fashion? The normal fashion would be the vertical approach. Does this also provide contracting opportunities for the contractors or designers? Explain why or why not. And these are the numbers. So the total construction cost would be $15 million. And of that $50 million, the cost for sub-consultant design work is $30 million. 4% total architectural fees on the architectural portion of the work. And if the subconsultant design goes through the architect and then to the owner, which would be the traditional route, there will be a 10% markup. The subconsultant will receive 10% design fees of their portion of the design, either billed directly to the client or through the architect. So even if they went the vertical approach or the horizontal approach, he would still charge that 10% design fee. But in the traditional approach, there'll be a 5% general contractor fee on costs run through their books. That's how much the general contractor would charge. For some examples of the horizontal approach, the firms for the subcontracting would charge $550,000 for landscaping, $950,000 for a swimming pool vendor, $5 million for an electrical subcontractor, and $12 million for a mechanical subcontractor. Assume the subcontractor fees are included in these figures. The other subs traditionally work through the general contractor. So back to the questions. What would the cost increases have been to the owner if they had contracted in a normal fashion? So if they would have contracted in a normal fashion, there would be, if you refer back to the numbers, there would be a 10% markup if the subconsultant went through the architect and then to the owner, and that 10% will be of the 30 million that of the work that he has designed, plus a 5% for contractor markups of the 50 million, and the 50 million would be the total cost. So that would come out to be $5.5 million that that would be charged to the owner if you went the vertical approach, vertical route. Does this also provide contracting opportunities for the contractor or the designers? Explain why or why not. I said no because, why not would be because there would not be a need for connections for the subcontractors. I mean, for the general contractors or the architect. And I would say yes, because now that the owner would be taking on more of the risk, it would free up some time from the contractor or the architect to take on more jobs, and they would be completed.
Okay, so in conclusion of this presentation, for part A, we see that the owner assumes more risk than in the horizontal method that he's using rather than the standard. We looked at a diagram showing the horizontal approach versus the vertical method. And like I said, the owner would only be able to successfully go through this project and save money using this method if he's knowledgeable about the subcontractors and design team members that he's hiring.
In conclusion, for part B, the total increase would be $5.5 million, and there will be less risk for architect and general contractors. So yeah, thank you guys for watching our presentation.